Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin with this one, I just need to run a quick errand. You see everything that's behind me? You guys know what that is? That's called grass. So for those that are disrespecting Metroid Dread, moving forward, go touch it. Well, I guess that settles it. Oh, and guess I'm not wearing the Metroid sweater that I usually wear, but whatever. I guess it'll be the new norm when it comes to Metroid content. And speaking of Metroid content, that is indeed what we're going to be discussing in today's video, because it seems that there is this massive disrespect that has been going on in regards to Metroid Dread ever since its release date. Everything just went to crap in some cases. A lot of people are really disrespectful when it comes to the fact that after 19 long years, for Metroid fans to have a 2.5 or even a 2D original Metroid game, excluding that of Samus Returns for the 3DS, since that was a remake to the original Game Boy game of the same moniker, it just sucks to see that there's this outlandish approach, similar to that with Bayonetta 3, which by the way I'm still very mad about, but with our dear bounty hunter Samus Aran here, she just can't really catch a break here now, can we? Now of course, many of you guys are probably asking yourselves, what exactly is the slander of Metroid Dread here? Because unlike Bayonetta 3, where it was just based on its design and the graphics and all that kind of stuff, well, in Metroid Dread's case, it's similar, but it's more so in terms of the gameplay design, the game design, and the overall fact as to whether or not a Metroid game is worth $60 compared to that of like God of War or anything else that Sony fanboys love to throw at just to compare graphics. And we're going to be discussing the latter before we deal with the former here, because the latter part is what bothers me the most. The fact that people really want to complain about Metroid Dread and say that it's not worth $60. They either are trying to bait, in which case I took the bait, but I'm going to be making money off of this sometime soon, so haha. And second of all, they just want to prove a point that PlayStation is superior. And listen guys, we're no longer in an era where console wars need to be a thing. Everybody can own a console nowadays. It's no longer how it was back in the 90s, where Nintendo had to compete against the Genesis and then later had to compete against Sony, the first PlayStation, and so on and so forth. It's very different culture now. Everybody wants to play games regardless of where it comes from. People just want to play games now. Why do you think a lot of people have PCs nowadays? Because they know that someday soon there's going to be a PC port of a game that they love on the PlayStation 4 or on the Nintendo Switch, and they can get it there for like $5. So the argument as to, oh, Metroid Dread is not worth the $60 because of the graphics of the game, it's not, at the end of the day, who cares? As long as the game is fun and interactive and is built on the premise of playing the game rather than watching a cinematic cutscene, because otherwise you could just go watch a movie that is CGI. We all know the bias against CGI films, so you better shut your trap there when it comes to the whole argument here. That last part felt very heated. I didn't even know how to end that segment, but you guys get my point here. And then there's also the idea of game design and how Metroid Dread's game design is bad to some sense because it doesn't tell you what to do. And first and foremost, if this is your first Metroid Dread game, not Metroid Dread, but Metroid game in general, then I can understand your reasoning why you would say that why it doesn't want to tell you where to go in certain aspects and all that kind of stuff. But if you're a long-time Metroid fan, or you've played the games in recent time, then you know that that is something that's just very stupid to say, because that's the whole game design of Metroid in the first place. It's designed to have you search around and explore your surroundings and figure out what to do. It allows you to use your head and use something called a brain so that you can finally appreciate once you figure out certain puzzles and where you need to go. That is the whole premise of Metroidvania games. You're supposed to be going back and forth because that's the whole point of the game. You're supposed to go back and forth because perhaps you're missing something from one area and perhaps there's a secret entrance for you to go to get the thing that you need to progress to the area that you're already there in the first place. That's how these games are built. That's the game design that these games are built upon, and that's what makes them fun. The fact that you have to use your head and check your surroundings and be alert of those surroundings, because who knows if there's actually a wall that you could break with a missile or just with your power beam in general. Who knows if you need to use a power bomb in this specific location, or who knows that you might need the grapple beam in certain areas because apparently you never had it in the first place and now you just remembered, oh, there's an area where I could perhaps use the grapple beam, I could perhaps use the wave beam, perhaps I could use the Aeon abilities that I have in Metroid Dread. All of that is built for Metroid and Metroidvanias in general because that's what makes them fun. If you were to give a sort of handheld sort of assistance more or less to those games, it ruins the fun and exploration that these games are built upon. And let's not forget the elephant of the room here, because this is what really grinds my gears when it comes to games in general and when it comes to comparing and criticizing games. And that is that, going back with the whole argument that Metroid Dread isn't worth $60 because it's a 2D game. What does that even mean? What does it even mean that it's not worth $60 because it's a 2D game? Do we really have this mentality where apparently 2D games are outdated and they're not worth the price? Is that apparently the mentality that we have? Because I can guarantee you that Metroid Dread is worth more than any of the current games that we've played in this generation. Both in the Nintendo side of things, in Sony and Xbox in between. I can guarantee you that you would have more fun playing a 2D search action game than having to spend 2-3 hours watching a movie that is Uncharted. That's the argument that I hate having to see the most. And I rarely use the word hate, but this just gets me so heated because games are built on different genres. There are plenty of genres that we all enjoy and we all love to play. There's RPGs like Persona and Kingdom Hearts and also Final Fantasy. There's also hack and slash like Devil May Cry, Scarlet Nexus, and of course Bayonetta. Then there's also regular games that we love playing, platformers like Sonic, Mario, Mega Man, anything else from indie developers, all that kind of stuff. To have the audacity to claim that Metroid Dread is not worth $60 because it's built on a game design that is supposed to be on a 2D plane. And I understand that you're bringing the argument of Metroid Prime because I can see the look in your eyes, because you guys are going to say, oh, but what about Metroid Prime? The Metroid Primes are basically 3D Metroid. They're basically a Metroidvania game built on 3D. They're FPSs. They're very different than the original 2D Metroids because they're built on the FPS perspective, and so they're not fully 3D. With Metroid here, they can be fleshed out and they have tremendous maps for you to go back and go and explore and 100% complete and all that kind of stuff. And that's what makes these games fun. If you were to put them on a full-on 3D plane and game design, I'm not saying that it's not going to be bad, it's just that it's going to be lackluster in certain parts. It's going to be lackluster in certain parts, and there's going to be certain tweaks that need to be fixed, but it would change the whole dynamic as to what a Metroidvania game has always meant to be. And so the purpose of it being 2D is so that it's easier to look around your surroundings, it's easier for you to play around and mess around with the mechanics of the game because it's built on this 2D plane and 2D game design, and that's what makes them fun. And so to again have the audacity of saying that Metroid Dread isn't worth it because it's 2D, that's just dumb. There's plenty of amazing 2D games that yes, obviously are worth $30 and blah blah, but they're all indie developers. That's completely different than the resources and the material that actual first party developers have in their arsenal, and that was showcased here in Metroid Dread. It is being showcased here in Metroid Dread because that's what Metroid has always been about. Now, to clear my head, because I know I can see the wave of comments that are coming at me with this video here, assuming this video, I don't know, breaks the algorithm or something. I don't even know. Like, you guys get my point. What I'm trying to say here is that just go play Metroid Dread. There's no point of trying to compare one game to another just to fit an agenda when it comes to games. Why do we need to have game politics when it comes to entertainment? That's what annoys me here, the whole aspect, the whole slander, the disrespect of a 19-year-long arrival of 2D Metroid. I just don't like it. It doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, it's not supposed to make sense because we can clearly see that ever since its release date, Metroid Dread has been soaring through the skies in terms of sales, breaking boundaries in terms of sales, hitting it hard in the nail in certain countries, being the best seller at this very moment when it comes to games for the Nintendo Switch roster and for games period. So at the end of the day, you can criticize this game all you want, but this game is making money for many people and it's giving a lot of people smiles and enjoyment at this very freaking moment. That being said, now I gotta conclude the video. I don't want to waste too much of your time and my time trying to basically continue and ramble on about the disrespect for Metroid Dread, but for those that have been here for a very long time, you guys know that I like to end things on a positive note when it comes to making videos, so we'll just end it like the usual. Keep being awesome, keep spreading love and kindness to the world because I know you guys can, and I know I can as well. Let's make sure to at least do one act of kindness each and every day to someone out there who needs it, especially in these times. And keep improving yourselves by 1% because by improving by 1% can go a long way towards making a better tomorrow. Know that I love you guys forever and always to 120, and I can't wait to see you all in that next fantastic video. Remember guys, stay freaking sexy and take care. And yes, I was aware that I did it the reverse, but whatever.